Welcome to Life with Long COVID with me, Paul Clark. It's estimated that around 400 million people are suffering from the effects of what is now called long COVID globally. There are probably many more people suffering but not able to articulate what is wrong with them. This podcast was started for one reason and one reason only: that those suffering will not feel like they're on their own. Welcome to this week's episode of Life with Long COVID with me, Paul Clark. It's lovely to welcome you again to this latest episode where I try to give an honest account of what it is like to live with long COVID. Not sugar-coated, just as it is, in full recognition that your experience might be different, but I'm just trying to make people feel like, or help people feel like, they're not on their own. So today, what's the episode about today? Well, listen, I was thinking over the weekend, there are some things about long COVID that I've explained to other people so many times, I could probably do like a PowerPoint presentation on them. In fact, sometimes I'm tempted when people ask me to whip out a PowerPoint presentation with diagrams and maybe a little laser pointer as well. Because there are some common questions that people always ask, or common assumptions. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of gather them into one episode today. Not because I'm criticising people in any way. I completely understand that people find it mystifying. They can't work out that even though I look okay, that I'm not feeling okay inside. I totally get that. So this is not a criticism of anybody at all. But I hope for those of us with chronic illness with long COVID, it might help you feel like you're not the only one that keeps fielding all these questions. And indeed, I'm hoping you might add to the conversation as well in the comments. Hopefully I do. Now, when I say in the comments, if you're listening to this podcast through the usual channels, Apple or Spotify or something like that, you need to go to, I would recommend you go to www.lifewithlongcovid.co.uk and sign up, because through that you can receive regular emails when I publish a written article or a podcast. Yep, there's written articles as well. And we can have conversation as part of that. There's a space for comments, etc. Does it cost money? No, you can have it for free, but you can also choose to donate and pay towards the price of the podcast if you want, but only if you can and you feel willing and able to do so. Otherwise, it's totally free. Just sign up. I should also mention that my book, Life with Long COVID, is available on Amazon. You just have to search Life with Long COVID by Paul Ian Clark, and that is a lot of my earlier episodes in written form, in a fairly short form, and it's designed so that for people who find listening to podcasts difficult, they can read the short chapters, dip in and out as and when they feel like looking at that subject. So that is a very wordy and probably rubbish way of explaining the book. But today, let's look at some of the things which are misunderstandings about this illness. Many of the things I've covered before, but I'm going to distill them all into one place. And if you're like me, you'll listen to this and think, oh, yeah, I totally get that, Paul. Let's start with tiredness. Okay? Fatigue is not tiredness. Normal tiredness you can push through. You can have a little rest and it helps and you're functional. Fatigue is different, and this misunderstanding is something that really gets to me all the time, because people will say, well, you know, if you're a bit tired, just have a rest and you'll be all right. But it's more than tiredness. Long COVID fatigue is a heavy, complete body shutdown. I often liken it to running out of batteries when you have a faulty batteries to start with. It's not about being low on fuel. It's about the engine cutting out when you're still on the motorway, if that's an analogy. Whatever analogy you want to give it, you have a faulty body at the moment. That means that you are in fatigue, and it is not the same as tiredness. Which begs the question, is how you deal with that when people say, well, you're just tired. I always try to tell them and give them that battery example. I say, well, I'm not just tired. I've got this faulty battery and it doesn't really work. So that's how I try to describe it. But, it's a really tough one. It's a really tough one. Because going around saying you're tired all the time is not helpful if you've got long COVID. I can't say specifically because it sounds like the ocean. It is fatigue, and that's how I describe it. The second thing people misunderstand is brain fog. What's brain fog? I can only describe brain fog in the way that it affects me, and the way it affects me is that I often forget words mid-sentence. I lose complete sentences, and I can't formulate what to say, and that comes across on this podcast sometimes, and I leave it in because I think that's what the podcast's all about, right? It's probably one of the only podcasts where you don't edit out some of these relapses mentally. I often lose my train of thought, and I lose it so much I can never return to it. I'll often read the same sentences time and time again. I have no idea what they say, even though they're quite simple. And I've done ridiculous things like putting milk on the kettle base and the kettle into the fridge and things like that, and sometimes more dangerous things when I'm attempting to cook, like leaving pots on and putting the wrong things in pots. That's brain fog to me. Now, I think people think that brain fog just means you're a bit ditzy, a bit random, but it's not. It's more than that. It's more than that. It's like putting the TV remote in the freezer, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then spending 20 minutes looking for it because you've forgotten where you put it. It's that kind of thing. And yes, it's humorous, and I can have a right laugh about some of the things, as I've just told you, that I've done, but actually it gets you down because you can't. There's some days when I can't just do anything normally, and it takes twice the effort to do something, and that, of course, contributes to fatigue. Not tiredness, fatigue. So it has an emotional and a physical consequence upon me. Third thing is that having to rest is not being lazy. We live in a world where everything is full on, isn't it? And we're told that the busier we are, the more successful we are. And if I had to tell somebody that, I've done nothing today, just been resting, they do not regard that as a successful lifestyle. They don't know what to do with it. They just like to talk about however busy they are. I'm really busy, I'm doing lots of things, I'm living a rich life, all this kind of stuff. And I get it. I was like that. I've been there, I've done it. But rest is not laziness. Resting is treatment. Resting is a form of medication. For some people, rest is optional because you can say, well, I think I'll have a rest here, I'll have 5 minutes. For people with long COVID, it's not optional. It's a strategy, it's survival, it's something that you have to do. And sometimes you have to rest when the whole world is rushing about you, whether that be at home or everywhere else. And when you're out, and you might be the only one having to rest, and you can feel guilty, you can feel lazy, and you can imagine that people might think you're lazy. And I have been called lazy before as well. But rest is not laziness. The fourth thing people often fail to understand, and this is really hard, so I get it, are that symptoms change. Yes, they change from day to day, but actually they can change hour to hour. The unpredictability of long COVID and many chronic illnesses means that you can never predict how you're going to feel at any period of the day. I may be fine in the morning, have an awful afternoon, and vice versa. I may be capable of conversation one day and absolutely feel shut down next, where I can't talk to anybody. And that is really hard for people to understand. Really hard. And I totally get it, because I find it hard as well. My body, as I've said before, has got the reliability of the British weather. It can be sunshine, thunderstorm, hail, all before lunch. And that's why planning is difficult. That's why keeping friends is difficult. Because however much you try to explain this, underneath, friends just think you're using it as an excuse not to see them. And I get it, but I'm not. I can get to the day and I cannot execute the plans which I really, really want to. I can be just as gutted. So cancelling plans, not flakiness. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary, and nobody's more disappointed than me when I have to cancel. Number 5, misunderstanding, is about the concept of getting better. When you speak to people, they understandably want to know, well, surely you're getting better, right? Surely you're on this nice linear trajectory where you've come from illness and you slowly get better, and they might feel frustrated because you're not getting better as quickly as perhaps they might expect you to. But nevertheless, they expect a straight kind of heroic climb back to normal. The problem with chronic illness, particularly with my experience with long COVID, is it doesn't follow a linear line. I can feel like I'm making real progress for a whole week or even a few weeks, and I can think, this is it, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming back. I might say it like that as well. And then crash the week after, because that's what crashing is, right? You push yourself too hard, you think, oh yeah, I'm getting better. And the week after, you're absolutely crashed out and you feel like you've gone 3 steps back. There is no linear, straight line of ascendancy into wellness. And that is incredibly frustrating. If I look at it from a year-to-year perspective, sure, there are things I can do now that I couldn't do 3 years ago. But conversely, there's things I'm worse at. So it's not a straight line. It's not a progressively getting better. And as I've delved into with episodes before, long COVID also spawns secondary illnesses, which means you often gain an illness rather than losing them and getting better. So that's another complex situation that is really difficult to deal with when you're talking to people, because they just want to think that you're getting better. And it doesn't matter how badly you feel at that time, they'll always try and end with, well, you'll get better soon, won't you? Like, you'll improve. Because they want to think that. And I totally get that. I want to think that too. But the reality is, it doesn't really work like that. And the last thing that people tend not to get is because they're good-natured and they always want to solve problems. Really, there's some people that love to solve problems for you. I think I used to be like this as well. You know, if somebody comes to you with a problem, or they're explaining that they're feeling poorly, what you want, your natural inclination is to help, and that is very commendable. But the issue is, I don't always want advice. I'm not saying it because I want advice. And the suggestions that I get are, you know, so many different types of supplements which I've tried, and people have said that this supplement really work. It worked for me. It's going to work for you. You're going to be cured in a couple of weeks. You know, you should do yoga. I've tried yoga. I've tried lots of different things, which I'm not going to list now. Sometimes we don't want advice. We don't want it. And I'm really chuffed that helped some people, but it doesn't necessarily help long COVID. It's such a complex illness. And I get that people care. I get why people do it. But sometimes it's just, you just need someone to listen and sympathise. without providing solutions. And if I want solutions, I might say, well, have you tried anything? Or has your friend tried anything, is what it usually is. Believe me, I've tried every supplement that's been suggested. I'm that desperate. I've spent a fortune on supplements. None of them have actually cured my long COVID. One or two might have helped at certain stages. None of them have provided the kind of cure which is talked about. So I suppose if I'm going to really sum this up, and if you're listening to a person who cares for someone with long COVID or knows somebody with long COVID, I would say the overriding thing is just to listen and to believe us when we talk about our illness, is to try and be patient when we have to cancel, and believe us when we say it's not about anything else other than the fact that we physically can't go through with it. And to kind of treat us as we are on that day, in that moment, you know, and try to resist the urge to cure or suggest. Just meet us as we are, as we're feeling in that moment. Because, like as I said before at the top of this episode, I totally understand, and I probably wouldn't have done any of those things before I got long COVID, so I completely understand. But hey, this podcast is about living with long COVID, the realities of it, and part of the reality is friends, family, people that don't necessarily understand what you're going through and the effect that it has upon you. So look, what's your bugbearer? What's the thing that you're tired of having to explain? I would love to hear from you. As I said at the beginning of the episode, there are ways of getting in touch. So I would love to hear from you. If there's something I've missed off or something in your experience that you feel, I really just get tired of having to answer this all the time. But until the next episode, take care. Try to gain some peace with the body that you're living in this day, this moment that you're listening to me. And remember that you are never alone. See you soon.